Hello, mate.
Morning, Al. How you doing? Okay.
Yeah. I'm all right.
There's been a lot in the news about historical abuse, racial and other abuse with players at Chelsea of the 70s, the 80s and the 90s. You were there in the 70s. Did you see any sexual abuse from people involved at the football club?
No, I didn't. But it was no secret that we all felt that keep out of the way of Eddie Heath. He was a very imposing man. He was about 6'6", and he was always messing about. He had one of those characters that were always messing about with the young lads,
Yeah.
And in the inappropriate places, and whether it was, they're always touching them in the wrong places. And it weren't like in that kind of environment in football clubs and all that. You don't expect coaches or scouts to be like that. And he was always seemed to. When I got interviewed about it before from the newspaper, they said, well, how do you know? How come you got the feeling if he never done anything to you? So I said, well, number one, I knew he wouldn't come near me because he knew my father. My father was always about it, training sessions, and he knew that my father wouldn't mess about. And number two, he would always be where he shouldn't be.
Yeah.
As young kids, you just you wonder what's going on. I mean, it's not as if he was a coach himself and he was going in and having a shower and stuff like that. He was a scout, and he was always dressed, but he was always around the shower area or the bath area. So, I found it. It didn't bother me at all. But what bothers me as I got a little bit older is why didn't they do anything about it? And I find it, when the Jimmy Savile case happened and all that, these people that know about it and let it go and make out they don't know, when they do know, I find that appalling. I find, especially when there's young kids involved, it's not an environment that if I send my son to go training or whatever, I would say to him, well, I wouldn't even say beware of it, because it was a very rare thing.
Yeah.
But it happened at Chelsea, and then obviously the Dario Gradi thing got dragged into it, and there was hearsay that he, was along them lines, and he was under a lot of pressure at that time, and that's why he kind of left London and went to Crewe and got out the way of what you might say the media attention, and I just found it very distasteful, Paul.
There seemed to be a lot of it about, though, and not just Chelsea. The network of paedophiles that were in and around and surrounding themselves, sometimes on the periphery of the football fields, seems to be quite prolific, doesn't it? Yet nobody identified it when the young players went forward to the clubs. Not any people from the club seemed to address the situation. It seems to go very, very deep into the fabric of football, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think I don't say they don't want to know, but, that's the first thing they should say to young lads is if there's anything, untoward going on here that you're not quite happy with, report it to us,
Yeah.
But it was, as I say, it wasn't just me. We would talk about it. Young lads would talk about it and say, "Oh, he's offering about it again," blah blah blah,
Yeah.
and he was always around the young kids. And he was a fella that it wasn't a local fella. He was from East London, where we're West London, and he just come, and then all of a sudden he just seemed to be there when we seemed to be, what can I say, undressing or getting ready to jump in a shower or whatever, and it was it was quite obvious that there was something wrong, you know.
So did any of those players go to people who were running the football club, or go to the senior players or the captains? Did you have any experience of friends of yours, young players that you were playing with, that went to the authorities at Chelsea and reported it, or did they and it was just brushed under the carpet?
Well, to be perfectly honest, mate, I don't think. I double checked the thing this morning when I wrote about that, and I see that one kid, Gary Johnson, said he was paid off 50 grand by the club to keep quiet, which that was a hell of a lot of money in them days.
Yeah.
It's not like today, you know, you've got millions. If it was in America, you'll get millions and millions and millions for that kind of stuff. But no, I can't remember anyone reporting it. It was just I can only say when we were a youth team, I was a little bit older there, and it was more on the Tuesday and Thursday night thing when I was first training as a schoolboy. It was always seemed to be about the youngsters, and when I was injured and I was in the dressing room for a long time, dressing room duty, as Doherty put me on, he was always seemed to be about when the kids were around, you know.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as if he had a fantastic name for getting good players or something. I never remember him really bringing anyone in that was any good. So I used to think, what the hell is he doing here? Mm. You know, it was just always seemed to be about when the kids were around, and it was such an unhealthy situation. And as I say, Paul, if I can see it as a 14-year-old, then those above me can see it.
Yeah.
The manager must know. The coaches around must know. They must see it. You don't really have to be that
switched on or bright.
Yeah, you don't really have to be that bright to know that there's something going on. But I was so wrapped up in what I was doing, playing and training, and as I say, my dad was there. He would come to the training sessions with me, and he would come to every match, so there was never a problem around that side of it, you know. But I always think that there's, for those kids that who don't have, you know, that kind of following or support from parents, because there was a hell of a lot of kids in them days. You know, they come on their own, they go on their own. Well, I suppose what they were, he would pick on the kids that were vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I found, you know, because I met him once, Jimmy Savile, strangely enough, I met him in a health farm one day, and I was chatting to him by the pool there, and this is long before anything come up. We had quite a long chat about things in life, and it never entered my mind that he was like that. But you know, it's just I just think at football clubs they don't vet the people. I always say, you know, that's why I had no respect for managers and coaches in many ways, whereas they get the job and they're not really vetted. They don't have to, you know. A couple of years ago, I said to a professor of mine, after I'd been in hospital for all that time, I said to a professor of mine, I have so much respect for you people. I said, because, you know, you go through your early days, you have to all these tests and everything else, and what you have to do to become a professor and everything else. But managers get football jobs, managers and coaches, with no qualifications whatsoever.
Yeah.
They just got brought in, and nobody ever looks into their background, where's he come from and all that. And I find it absolutely disgusting. It really is. I mean, I dread to think what would have happened, you know, if something had happened to me, because my father would have probably got nicked.
Yeah.
And, you know, because...
Sorry, Al. Yeah.
Yeah, no, go on.
And certainly, if your dad didn't, probably your Uncle George would, and the and the other members of your family, wouldn't they?
absolutely, they would. I mean, they wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they I don't think they were ever about when he was about,
Yeah.
because it would always happen. They never come into the dressing room area or the shower area and all that. But that's where he used to be. You know, he used to kind of always seem to be hovering about when kids were getting undressed and going into the showers, and he'd mess about with them, you know. And I suppose you might call it a friendly way, but I didn't see it as a friendly way. I think, what's he doing? Well, you know, why is he always here at that time? You know, and what disgusts me is how the club never do nothing about it. Now you've got a QC, I'm reading this morning, a QC, so he's earning a lot of money, and there's certain kids gone away, and you know, I got a phone call about 2 years ago from a kid who was at Crewe, and he asked me, what, you know, my opinion, because my nephew was at Crewe, young Willie Hudson, and about, you know, that Brian fella that got nicked, and he said he you know, he wrecked my career. And so kids might say they might not have wrecked their career, but it's very off-putting.
Yeah, it is. And also,
you know, it's like going to school, really, and a teacher's touching the pupil, and the pupil, all of a sudden, he don't want to go to school, but he don't want to tell his mum and dad because he might be shy, or they might say, "Oh, you're just saying that, whatever." You know, it's a very, very, it's not even a grey area. It was so clear for me, you know.
And also players would be very, very embarrassed about that, I'm guessing. And the fact that they're young, they're impressionable, they want to get on in the game of football. Many of them chose to not say anything at the time, or if they wanted to say anything at the time, wouldn't be believed. And for players that are coming out of other cities, towns and villages to play there at Chelsea in London, probably were put up in houses by Chelsea Football Club, and those would probably be target areas for paedophiles like that to prey on them young and vulnerable players, rather than the homegrown talent like yourself that was born within a Ian Hutchinson throwaway from Stamford Bridge.
Well, yeah, and really, when you think about it, this is all. I mean, I watch a lot of these programs on telly, especially these American programs, and so I've got half an idea of. I don't know how their mind works, but you watch it, and football is a great, I wouldn't call it a vehicle, but where young kids are, they, you know, where should I get a job after school? Oh, you know, become a football coach and just, you know, take the kids.
Yeah.
You know, you got and to take the kids, any coach, they should be vetted, they should be looked at, you know.
Yeah.
They should be, and for what reason, you know. It's just beyond me. Our clubs I mean, the clubs are saying, "Oh, we'll make sure it will never happen in the future," but that's not good enough, is it?
No, it's not. No, you can't take back the hands of time and give back to them young players what was taken away from them almost 2 generations ago. It's sad, it's sick, it's pathetic, but you know.
It is.
There we go. Let's hope that they get their just rewards, and let's hope that the perpetrators of some of these horrendous crimes are prosecuted and put in jail.
Well,
sadly,
that's another thing. That's the other thing, is that, you know, it's like the Savile case again. Why bring it all up when these people are dead?
Yep.
You know, that's no good to nobody.
It certainly makes you wonder whether there is something more sinister that when they pop off, then they bring it up, because dead people can't talk, and then there is no investigation to the lines of where they crossed and how deep the paedophilia goes. Because let's be truthful, it doesn't just stop at a football club; it goes all the way to the top echelons of our society and the establishment that run these countries.
No, I agree entirely, mate. Yeah, and it's a damning thing, but the problem is these people, these lawyers and this QC I read about this morning, they earn a lot of money out of it. You know, it's beautiful for them, but it's horrific for the child and the family.
Yeah.
But they earn money out of it. So that's why they brought it up again. Why bring it up? I mean, he's dead. What are they going to do about it? Unless the reason they bring it up is to give the kids. But what you're going to do? You're going to get kids jump out of the trees for something like this, aren't you? You know.
Yeah. Yes.
50 grand. Someone out of work is going to say, "Oh, well, yeah, mate." You don't know who's telling what. You know.
No, of course you don't. Of course you don't.
No.
It's one of them, innit? Anyhow, until next time, we've got another show coming up in a few weeks' time. My Life, My Music with the Governor, Alan Hudson. So we got another dozen songs or thereabouts to talk about the stories behind those songs. So it's so till then, Al, we'll see you soon and speak soon.
All right, mate. All
Cheers,
right,
pal. Have a great day. You
Yeah.
got much on today, mate?
Not really. No, I'm waiting to go up to Manchester for the weekend to Chelsea game.
And how do you see that game going?
I feel very strongly that Manchester United could win it.
Yeah.
I think they might get off to a flyer if they've made a lot of very positive signings. I think they might have got rid of the cloud that was hanging over them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't beat Chelsea now, you'll never beat them.
It's not.
You know, it's as simple as that. They're without Hazard. You know, they keep bumming them up and this, that, and the other. But I'm afraid, you know, Frank's got a very, very difficult job on his hands.
Yeah, he has. Like you've said before, that they've got a load of good, young, talented players, but going and playing in a Premier League at the top levels is very difficult for a group of youngsters. It's we seen that last night with my team, Birmingham City, that took a 23s up to or down to Portsmouth. I know it's a different level, I know it's different gravy, but ultimately you need your senior pros to step up to the plate and make sure the young guns are looked after. Sadly, that didn't happen back in the 70s off the field of play with Chelsea around the toilets and changing areas.
Absolutely, mate.
All right,
Absolutely.
then. Cheers then, Al.
Right,
Speak soon.
Good luck, mate.
Cheers, pal.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
SRP Media.